I'm going to show you some of the features in WhirlyGlobe version 1.2. 1.2 is the latest release of the WhirlyGlobe toolkit for iPhone and iPad. Its purpose is to let you interact with a 3D spinning globe with vector data and imagery overlaid. Its main claim to fame is that it's very fast and very efficient. And you can see here, for example, that we're running at about 30 Hertz, displaying a fairly decent amount of vector data and labels. But that's basic 1.1 functionality, so let's take a look at what we added for 1.2. The first thing we added were markers. What markers are little stamps that can be locked down to geographic locations. So as a developer, you specify the origin of a marker and the texture or textures you want to display. If you specify a list of textures, the marker will simply iterate over that list over a given period. This is useful for things like weather maps, and mostly weather maps, I think, but who knows. Markers are fairly efficient on the back end, and there's some low-level stuff we're doing to make them very fast. The next feature is particle systems. Particle systems are actually pretty simple to use, even though they look pretty cool. As a developer, all you specify is the location of the particle emitter and some parameters for the random particles. In this case, we specified a list of colors, a lifetime, and a height and width, and then the particle systems will do the rest. And this is displaying, I think, 150 or so particle systems at roughly 30 frames per second. Next, we've added lofted polygons. Now, lofted polygons are something that we had in one of the demo apps. That's the WhirlyGraph app that's on the App Store. They're pretty simple. They're complex to implement, but they look pretty simple. Basically, they're polygons that hover over the terrain and can be transparent. So, for example, here, you can see as we select countries, the outlines will be lofted over the terrain, and you can see the terrain beneath them. This looks particularly good if you have the vector data underneath as well. Now, this also shows off a feature that we added for 1.2, and that's fade. So as I tap on Bolivia here, you'll see that it fades in over a certain period, and all that's controllable. And then the last feature we've added is selection. We were always able to select geographic regions, so if you tapped somewhere on the globe, you could search for what country that fell within. But we've also added that functionality for near searching and for things like markers or labels, which might not have well-defined geographic locations, but exist more in a visual space. So all of that's available to the developer as well. So WhirlyGlobe 1.2 is now released, and people are already using it, and hopefully we'll see some interesting apps.